In this lecture, we'll talk about domain names. We'll just talk about what they are, how much they cost, and where you can get them. www.google.com is an entire domain name. If you go and search online for domain names, you'll see images come up that say .edu, .org, .biz, .net, but that's only a portion of the domain name. www.google.com is an entire domain name. If you look at an entire URL that you see in your web browser, and URL just stands for Uniform Resource Locator, at the beginning you see HTTP, or you may also see HTTPS for secure pages. And then after the first two slashes, you'll see the domain name. So in this example, it's www is the host, which is the typical host. That can also typically be left off. And then you see the second level part of the domain name, awti, which is normally where we'd put our business name or our blog name, our company name. And then you see the top level, .com. There's several different top level domains, .com, .edu, .org, .gov, .biz, and then there's actually branching out into a whole lot of new ones right now, but .com is the most typical. And then after that is the actual specific web page. It's not part of the domain name, and there's really a specific web page for every different page, obviously. Resources.php though is an actual file. So .php is the file type. If this was a Word document, it would be resources.doc or docx. And so those actual web page files are stored on a server, and then that's what you actually see is that file being displayed on the web page. So if you go online and search the internet, you can find a lot of information about the internet. So let's just go and look real quick. You can go and find out a whole wealth of information about domain names if you care. And then what you'll find is there's a domain name system. It's usually shortened as DNS. And the domain name system basically takes that human readable domain name that we just looked at, www.google.com, and it translates that into a number, a 32-bit number called an IP address. An IP address is unique, and there's one for every domain name. And it's basically what the computer uses. So your domain name, the words, is just so you and I can read it. But behind that, there's a unique IP address. You can also find out more about URLs if you care. I don't think it's really pertinent to this course that you do a whole lot more research on those things, but I just wanted you to know kind of a little history on how these things work. So back to domain names. How much do they cost? I usually spend about $10 or $11 a year per domain name. Now you'll find that there's a whole lot of different options on domain names, how much they cost, and a lot of times if you package them together with your web hosting, the company will offer you the domain name free for the first year. And we'll talk a whole lot more about web hosting in a later lecture, so don't worry about that right now. But typically, I buy my domain name separate just because it's a whole lot easier for me to have all my domain names in one place. And when you start tying them together with your web hosting packages, I found that some companies try to do a lot of upselling, and yeah, they may offer it free the first year, but then it's going to be twice as much the second year. And I would just prefer to pay the same price every year and not have to worry about those prices going up or a bunch of upselling. So anyway, about 10 or 11 bucks a year if you buy it separate. If you're really on a cost constraint for now, you can package it with your hosting and get it free for the first year. So where do you get domain names? I've been using Namecheap.com a lot the last couple years, and I have probably 15 or 20 domain names on Namecheap right now. I found that the site it's clean and simple. It's really easy for me to use, and their prices are very good. For most .com domain names, I spend about I think it's just under $11 a year. And they also give me something called WhoisGuard, which kind of protects my identity. They throw that in free, and we'll talk about that more in a little bit. Now, if you go online and you search for domain names, you're going to see a whole lot of different options. In fact, domain and hosting companies spend a tremendous amount of money on advertising. Domain and hosting are some of the more widely searched terms, and so they have to spend a lot of money trying to promote themselves to you and I. You can also go and search best domain names, and you'll see here a lot of top 10 or top 15. Now, if you go here and you click 10 best domain hosts, what you're going to see is this list here. Now, when you scroll down, you'll see a lot of different options. One at the bottom, GoDaddy, which we saw on the search results, very popular. I'm sure you've seen their logo. They spend millions of dollars advertising, but interestingly enough, they're only rated about 2.5 stars. And really, a lot of these in the this top 10 review are rated very low. So you don't see Namecheap.com here. The big reason is in the past they have not been really a web hosting service. They've more just been a domain service. And I think this page is just showing hosting companies that offer domain service. But basically, any hosting company is going to offer you domain name registration service. So just to give you an example, let's go to Namecheap, and here, I type in Andrew Thai, and let's see if we can find a domain, Andrew Thai. Obviously, we're not going to find it because I already have that, but this is what would happen. It'd show you, no, it's not available, and then it give you some options. Well, you could do andrewthai.co or andrewthai.us. That one's actually pretty cheap. I should probably buy it, but nothing there. So there's a couple different options. You can keep trying different things here. And what I've found, to be completely honest, is there's a lot of people that have gone out and they've spent a lot of money buying up domain names, kind of like an investment. I highly doubt that you're going to find a single word available. In fact, I'm 100% sure you're not going to find one word available. And I'm very skeptical that you're going to find the two words you want. Like Andrew Thai is a little different because it's a name, but you're probably not going to find two common words together. They're pretty much taken. And if they're a pretty common word, you're not going to find three together. So what you can do is you can keep typing things in here, trying different things. There's also a lot of websites, though, that will offer you combinations. So if you say, type in the words Andrew Thai, they'll give you a bunch of different options. So here's one that I have not used a whole lot. It's called Panabi. I haven't used it much. There's a whole bunch of different sites like this. But if you type in Andrew Thai here, they'll give me a whole bunch of different options. I don't know. I guess this broken heart thing means it's not available. But here they say, okay, well, you could swap I for Y. Oh, that's interesting. Or here's one that's available. It's Go Andrew Thai. Maybe I'd be okay with that. So we could go back to Namecheap and type in Go Andrew Thai and see what it says. So it's searching right now. And sure enough, Go Andrew Thai is available. So come here, add it to the cart. So now if we just go and we click View Cart, we'll be able to see domain registration, 1069, and then there's this thing called WhoisGuard, and it's free. And WhoisGuard basically protects your identity online. When someone goes to see what's called the Whois information on your website, Namecheap is going to guard that for me. So what it looks like is this. This is basically the information that somebody would find if they searched for my information on the whois.net website. So we're seeing things like city is Panama. It's a PO address. It's got some really funky emails. And that's helpful because sometimes I don't want, like robots to be able to search and find my email address and start spamming me. And so it's helpful to protect your identity. Let me just show you the Whois. So here's the whois.net. If we go to that, we're going to see this. Now I already typed it in, awti.com, which is another one of my sites. Here's the information. It basically doesn't show you anything for awti.com. And that's because that WhoisGuard is protecting it. Now anybody can come and type in any site here, and if you don't have the WhoisGuard, they're going to see personal email right here. Now if we went and we typed it in for Google, just scroll down, this is for, again, google.com. Scroll down, we'll see this is not protected. So domain name service admin, Google Incorporated, Mountain View, California. And you'll see an email address here that's actually a Google email address, and their phone number, fax. Now they have to have some of this public, and obviously they are set up to handle it, but I don't always want this information on my websites. Sometimes on my website I will have personal information, but this is something that's easy for robots and spammers to come and get information. So Namecheap gives it to me for free. If you go to a hosting company and they say, hey, we'll give you your domain name free for the first year, it sounds pretty good. Because if you go back, hey, we're spending $10.69 to get a domain separately. But if you go to that hosting company, they're going to charge you probably 10 or 12 or maybe more dollars for this WhoisGuard. So you're actually going to end up spending more. Even though this domain registration is free the first year, at a hosting company, you're going to actually spend more money because they'll charge you a lot more for this WhoisGuard. So I really like buying my domain separate, I guess is my point, because it's a very good value. And after your first year, those hosting companies are going to charge you probably more than the $10.69, and they'll certainly charge you more than $288 or free for the WhoisGuard. So I like Namecheap. It's got all my domains all in one place. I can go and look at them. It shows me my WhoisGuard subscriptions. So everything's pretty nice and neat. And that wraps it up on domain names. We talked about what they are and a little of the science behind them. How much they cost, usually $10 or $11 a year if you buy them separately. You can also get them free if you get them as part of your hosting package. But if you want to have the WhoisGuard privacy, it's going to cost you $10 or $12 if you buy it as part of your hosting package. We also talked about where you can get them. I really like to use Namecheap, but I've used a whole lot of other companies like InMotion, which is my hosting company, FatCow, Lunar Pages, even GoDaddy, which I don't particularly like. But there's tons of options out there for you, and if you go and you Google, you'll find almost more information than you can handle. So that's why I've showed you what I use. But at the end of the day, you need to have a domain name because that's how you're going to uniquely identify your own website on the internet. Up next, we'll talk about web hosting. My name is Andrew Ty, and this lecture has been about domain names. Thanks for watching. I hope you found it useful.